Architectural Styles for Distributed Computing Part 2. In Part 1 video, we discussed the two major classes of architectural styles, software architectural styles and system architectural styles, and also components and connectors, data center and data flow architectures. In this video, we are going to discuss virtual machine architecture, call and return architecture, and architectural styles based on independent components. Virtual machine architectures. This architecture provides a virtual abstraction, a set of attributes and operations. This architecture appears very much similar to emulator software, for example, JVM, VirtualBox, etc. Since it is virtual, it pretends some functionality which is not native to the hardware or software on which it is implemented. This architecture is very much suitable for solving a problem by simulation or translation if there is no direct solution. It includes interpreters of microprogramming, XML processing, script command language execution, Smalltalk, and Java interpreter typed programming language. Some of the examples of virtual machines are role-based system, syntactic shells, command language processors, interpreters, etc. This architecture introduces modifications at runtime and it provides flexibility through the ability to interrupt. It provides portability and machine platform independency. It has a disadvantage because it slows down execution of the interpreter due to the interpreter nature, and it incurs some extra performance cost because of the additional computation involved in execution. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most popular examples of virtual machine architectures include there's a rule-based interpreters, etc. So now we are going to discuss a rule-based style. Inference engine parses user input and determines whether it is a fact or rule or a query. If it is a rule or a fact, it adds this entry to the knowledge base. Otherwise, if it is a query, it queries the knowledge base for applicable rules and attempts to resolve the query. And another example is interpreter style. The interpreter parses and executes input commands, updating the state maintained by the interpreter. Call and return architecture. Here the systems that are composed by components. We know that collection of components make a system. So such components they are connected together by method calls. So there are mainly three subcategories that differentiates how the system is structured and how methods are invoked. They are top-down style, object-oriented style, and layered style. So top-down style. This is a divide and conquer approach. That means there will be one large program. It will be divided into different subprograms or procedures, and the entire program it achieves its task by invoking these subprograms or procedures. So in this type of style, the major components are procedures, subprograms, etc. Then the connections are the method calls or invocation, and it is very hard to maintain and manage if the system is very large. Next is the object-oriented style. Here the systems are specified in terms of classes and implemented in terms of objects. We are all familiar with the class concept. The class define a type of components by specifying data that represent their state and the methods or operations that can be done over this data. So as an advantage, we can say that there is a coupling between data and operations used to manipulate them. And this object instances, they hide their internal state representations and protect the integrity. These are all the basic concepts of object-oriented programming. We are all familiar with that. And there are some disadvantages too. Here, each object needs to know the identity of an object if it wants to invoke operations on it. And shared objects need to be designed carefully so as to ensure the consistency of their state. Now coming to the layered style. Here, a number of different layers are defined with each layer performing a well-defined set of operations. Each layer will do some operations that becomes closer to the machine instruction set progressively. At the outer layer, components will receive the user interface operations. Inner layer, components will perform the operating system interfacing, etc. That means the communication and coordination with the operating system. Okay. So this is the style. See, this is the core layer. These intermediate layers are utility layers and application layers. The outermost layer is the user interface layer. Architectural styles based on independent components. Here the systems have their own life cycle. These independent components interact to each other so as to perform their activities. So based on the way the interaction among the components is managed, there are two major categories. So here we said that there are so many independent components, and to achieve their to perform their activities, they need to interact with each other. So based on the way the interaction among the components is managed, two major categories are there. One is communicating processes, another one is event systems. Okay. Now this communicating processes. Here the components are independent processes. It is suitable to model distributed systems. The concurrent processes provide services to other processes. The conceptual organization of the processes and the communication happens, these vary according to the specific model used. So how to organize these processes and how communication happens. So it is based on the model used. It can be either a peer-to-peer model or a client-server model. Here the connectors are those that IPC facilities. Okay, the IPC facilities are used as connectors. Next is event systems. Here, component publishes a collection of events. Just like in Java, the components, they publish some events. Okay, whenever an event occurs, some other handlers will be there. They receive those events and they started working on it. Okay, so in order to receive those events or in order to get notification, they need to register. Okay, so the same concept is discussing here. So other components can register with, and the advantages include it fosters the development of open systems. We can add new modules. Then the invocation pattern is implicit. Okay, we need to call a function and all. Whenever that particular event happens, the rest will happen automatically. Okay, that is why the invocation pattern is implicit. The event source does not need to know the identity of the event handler in order to invoke the callback. Now there are some disadvantages too. When a component triggers an event, it does not know how many event handlers will be invoked and if there is any registered handler. The information is available only at runtime. So from a static design point of view, to identify the connections among components becomes very complex.